Welcome to the Spring 2021 High School Testing portion of the February DAC trainings. My name is Shara Savage. I am a Program Consultant in the Office of Assessment and Accountability. First, let's look at the end of course exams for the early graduate pathway students. Who is eligible for the early graduation pathway and the EOC assessments? Senate Bill 158 establishes that early graduation is a deliberate pathway for students in grades 9 through 11 who wish to move on when ready, receive a diploma from the district, and be eligible for acceptance into Kentucky public universities, nonprofit colleges, independent colleges, and universities. The pathway provides a financial scholarship known as the Early Graduation Certificate to support this action. Students participating in the pathway must meet requirements set forth by 704 KAR 305, including the following. Notify the principal within the first 30 days of the school year in which they intend to graduate. Enter the early graduation pathway prior to October 1 of the year in which they intend to graduate early. Be flagged in IC prior to October 1. Graduate in 3 years or less. Students exceeding 3 years do not qualify for the incentive identified with the early graduation pathway. They take the state-administered college readiness exam, which is currently the ACT, and meet the ACT benchmarks as set forth by the Council on Post-Secondary Education. Take and score proficient on all required EOCs. To meet this requirement, KDE will provide EOCs for those students participating in the early graduation pathway during the 2021 school year. Now let's talk about who is not eligible for the EOC exams. There is a difference between a student who is in the early graduate pathway and one who graduates early, a credit-based option. Although the wording is similar, the early graduation pathway is tied to an early graduation certificate scholarship and benchmarks, whereas graduating early, credit-based, is tied to the completion of all minimum high school requirement graduation in less than 4 years. If a student is not a part of the early graduation pathway and desires to simply graduate early, the decision for the student to graduate should be made in conjunction with the school administration and the central office. Graduating early is a local decision, and the student is not eligible for the EOC assessments. The school board must have a policy on file affirming that students can pursue the graduating early credit-based option. The EOC assessment testing window 1 was successfully completed in December. Test window 2 will begin on February 22nd and concludes on March 5th. Materials for window 2 have been shipped. The final window will begin on April the 19th and concludes on April 30th. Scores will be available on the KDE Secure site. Exams for window 2 scores will be available by mid to late April. Exam window 3 scores will be available as soon as possible. Every attempt will be made to have scores by graduation dates. Now, let's take a look at the ACT. As a reminder, here are the Spring 2021 administration dates. Initial testing window is March 9th with the associated accommodations window and online window. The MyACT testing window date is March 23rd, and again with a associated accommodations and online window. As a reminder, there are only 2 weeks between the initial test date and the MyACT test date. This means testing staff will only have 4 days to order any makeup materials. This is a quick turnaround, so please make note of this critical deadline in the schedule of events. Due to the unusual circumstances of COVID-19 outbreak, KDE and ACT are offering a third testing window of April 13th for emergency purposes. Schools should plan to test students safely during the first or second ACT testing window. The third window is available for emergency purposes. Please note, the emergency test date is only to be used as a last testing option, and no additional dates will be available. Now, let's discuss who tests. All students designated as juniors in the Infinite Campus, or IC, on initial test date or makeup day will be expected to have the state-administered ACT score or an approved non-participation. This includes students who have previously taken a national ACT exam, even if they met benchmarks. It additionally includes grade 11 students who transfer to your school after the initial test date and prior to makeup day. You will need to place a makeup day materials order or an additional materials order for those students. Students who took the ACT as juniors last year and are retained also take the ACT. Foreign exchange students must also take the ACT if they are classified as juniors on initial test day or makeup test days. Students in the early graduate pathway are approved to take their one-time state-funded ACT exam prior to their junior year if needed. In addition to the students listed above, any eligible senior who missed their opportunity to test as a junior in spring 2020 or fall 2020 is entitled to test in spring 2021. This is not an opportunity for seniors to retest. Students eligible to test does not have a complete composite score in the spring or fall 2021 administration, enrolled on or prior to March 10th, 2020 into a Kentucky public school, and has been identified by KDE. KDE has reviewed, updated, and delivered the eligible senior information to ACT via an SDU file. Therefore, DACs and BACs are able to see their eligible seniors in PAN for the spring 2021 administration. If a senior or district has a student who missed their opportunity to test in the spring or fall of 2020 and is not listed in PAN, the DAC or BAC should email me. At that point, OAA and ACT will review the request. And just a reminder, this is not an opportunity for seniors to retest. Now let's touch base on the COVID-19 guidelines. If a school is virtual using a hybrid model or in person, staff and students participating in the ACT assessment should abide by all current, local, and state safety expectations and best practice guidelines in the Healthy at School guidance when administering the ACT to students. Additionally, for small group guidance, please see the COVID-19 considerations for reopening schools, welcoming students for orientation and targeted services. Due to the rapidly changing conditions in the COVID-19 pandemic, it is important to have backup plans in case of testing interruptions. It is the expectation of OAA that schools test during the initial test window 1, if at all possible. However, the health and safety of our staff and students are of the utmost importance. Here are a few examples of testing plans a school could utilize this spring. In example A, your district is still completely virtual. Therefore, a combination of paper and online testing utilizing small groups during test window 1 for initial testing could be used. Then, a combination of paper and online testing utilizing small groups during test window 2 for makeup testing. In example B, still virtual, but the building was closed during the initial test window. A combination of paper and online testing utilizing small groups during test window 2 for initial testing, and then a combination of paper and online testing utilizing small groups during test window 3 for makeup testing. In example C, the district is on a hybrid model. A school could schedule Group A students to test paper pencil on March the 9th with online testing during the test window 1 for makeup testing for Group A students. Then schedule Group B students to test paper pencil on March 23rd using online testing during test window 2 for makeup testing for Group B students. In example D, they're still on you're utilizing the hybrid model. Schedule Group A students to test paper pencil on March 9th. Schedule Group B students to test paper pencil on March 23rd. And then a mixture of A-B students for makeup testing paper pencil on April the 13th. In example E, say your district is virtual until April. A school could use paper pencil initial testing on April the 13th and utilize online testing for makeups during the test window 3. Please contact me if it is necessary to test using examples D or E to work through the logistics of using those examples. It is important to note, all online testing refers to in-person testing with trained staff. At this time, KDE and the Administration Code Regulation does not permit remote proctoring for any state assessment. If you decide to utilize both paper and online testing, you will have more flexibility with your spring testing. The potential combinations are numerous, and here are just a few examples of the combinations available to you. For example, a school may decide to test one class online and the rest paper pencil. Additionally, a school could decide to test one student online and the rest paper pencil. It is important to note whether you test online or with paper, the test must be the first activity of the day. For spring 2021 ACT State Administration, ACT is offering staggered start times known as the late start policy. This option will be available for paper testing, online testing, and accommodation testing. Districts may offer multiple test sessions within a test day, so long as the rules about the late start time, which are outlined in the ACT's Administration Manual, are followed. The staggered sessions could be structured to avoid overlapping breaks, and the last session must start by 10:30 a.m. In addition, if a staggered start time is used, testing staff must ensure that examinees from different rooms do not have the ability to interact with each other during any breaks. If a school utilizes these staggered start times, an irregularity report must be completed. Now let's take a look at an example of staggered start time testing. The MyACT session cannot be completed on the day of testing. Therefore, the non-test session will have to be scheduled prior to testing days. Also, as a reminder, even with staggered start times, the ACT must be the first activity of the day. The policy is limited to multiple overlapping sessions only. For example, Group A could not start and finish prior to Group D starting. Most importantly, please ensure that student groups do not have the opportunity to mingle or pass in the hall during any staggered testing schedule. These are some examples of the staggered times that could be utilized. However, a smaller school with only 2 groups, for example, could utilize Group B and D for a testing schedule. So please note, the times will vary based on reading of script and extended time for accommodation students. OAA is highly encouraging the use of online testing for more flexibility. ACT has several steps on how to prepare. To test any or all examinees online, there are a number of steps you must complete. You'll need to appoint a technical coordinator, change examinees' test modes from paper to online in PAN, and complete a site readiness process to ensure you have the technical capability to deliver exams online. The current version of TestNav will be installed on all testing computers. Optionally, you may also complete a mock administration and set up proctor caching of test content to reduce the risk of technical interruptions during testing. ACT and KDE encourage you to complete the site readiness process even if you don't currently have a plan to test online, to ensure you're able to support online delivery should you need to as we approach the testing windows. The deadline has passed. However, if you missed the January 22nd deadline for Window 1 or February 5th for Window 2, contact me and we will work through this together to complete the task. The technical coordinator is responsible for ensuring testing equipment meets minimum technical requirements, configuring testing computers, and troubleshooting any issues. The individual must be familiar with the technical guidelines for online testing, run a system check 1 week prior to testing, freeze the testing environment, and confirm site readiness with the test coordinator. Additionally, if your district or school is utilizing the proctor caching, the technical coordinator creates the TestNav configuration in PAN and completes the proctor cache setup on the proctor computer as directed. To ensure you are able to offer online testing, be sure to complete the technical readiness process prior to the deadlines associated with each test window. KDE and ACT encourage you to complete the site readiness process for online testing even if you don't currently have a plan to test online. Verifying that you have the ability to test online will give you the option should the need arise. There are a number of valuable resources and requirements for online testing on the ACT hosted state testing website. All the resources listed on the screen can be found under the Stage 2 configuration of your ACT hosted state testing website. The overview training is a great place to start to ensure testing staff is aware of what needs to happen to support a successful online administration. All students are loaded with a paper test mode by default. If you wish to test any students online, you must change the testing mode for each one in PAN. To change the test mode from paper to online, log into PAN, select Setup, select Students, check the box for all the students that you want to change. Next, go to Start and select All Tasks. Select the Manage Student Test tab. Then select the ACT for each student, one at a time, in a column on the left. Edit the delivery format value from paper to online for each student, and then save. Be sure to save for each student. Now, let's take a look at accommodation options that are still available. The window for reconsideration of accommodations ended on January 22nd. During this window, ACT reconsiders requests for accommodations authorized by ACT or EL supports that were not initially approved. The window for late consideration is January 18th through March 5th for any newly enrolled student or students who have recently new diagnosis with a disability that requests accommodations or support. Requests for accommodations or EL supports submitted after the published deadline are late requests. Missing the initial accommodations deadline for submitting a request is not a reason for late consideration. Due to time constraints, requests submitted during the late consideration window may not have time for reconsideration prior to your test date. Make sure you include all the required documentation, including a completed late consideration form. There are missteps to avoid with late considerations. First, be sure to include the form. Next, remember to save the form after completing it and before uploading it to the TAA system. Finally, make sure the student meets one of the criteria for a late consideration review. For more information on this task, please visit the ACT Test Accessibility and Accommodation System TAA User Guide. If a student has an IEP or PSP or EL supports and is not approved ACT accommodations, please order non-college reportable materials or NCR materials. ACT approval is not required. All NCR materials can be ordered in PAN. For Test Window 1, NCR materials can be ordered from February 23rd through the 26th. Any accommodations questions should be directed to ACT Accommodations by phone, 800-553-6244, extension 1788, or by email at actstateaccoms@act.org. Now, when and where will scores be available? As a reminder for your testing staff, students will need to create a MyACT account. The student will complete non-test activities, update their demographics, receive ACT notifications, access information to prep for the ACT exam, and most importantly, access test scores. Students have the opportunity to complete the pre-test activities at home with a parent or guardian prior to test day. Schools may also hold pre-test sessions. For students completely in person or on a hybrid model, hosting a pre-test session may be preferable. For students completely virtual, having students complete the pre-test activities at home may be preferable. Either way, it is the responsibility of the test coordinator to guarantee all students have completed this activity. Failure to complete this activity can result in students' inability to send scores to colleges and universities and receive scores. ACT is working to develop a tool to assist testing staff with the ability to view who has completed this task. Depending on the materials receipt window selected during the Select Test Date task in PAN, materials for the school may be arriving as early as the week of February the 8th. When the materials arrive, the individual non-test instructions for each examinee associated with your school in PAN will be included. Please note, students cannot yet complete the non-test activity in MyACT. The ACT will communicate with testing staff when examinees can complete the non-test activity. Upon receiving materials, please securely store the non-test instructions for students until ACT notifies schools that the non-test activity can be completed. The material shipment will include personalized non-test instructions for examinees. All examinees will complete the non-test activity in MyACT this spring, regardless of the test mode. When MyACT is available for this activity, ACT will communicate to school and district testing staff. ACT has several resources on the ACT state-hosted website, including accessing MyACT accounts for non-test information, MyACT Quick Start Guide, how to use student code for state testing video, MyACT website, and the MyACT account setup video. Materials are processed as they are received. Scores are not held until the entire school is processed. All students from a single school or district may not receive their scores at the same time. Schools and districts will be able to view student scores in the new online reporting system known as the ACT Success Site 3 to 8 weeks after test materials are received by ACT. Additionally, student scores will be available in the MyACT platform as scores are reported. The online reporting is accessed through the ACT Success Site. Users with the appropriate role will also have access to ACT online reporting platform student scores reports. For the spring 2021 administration, schools will receive paper pencil data reports. However, score reports will not be loaded into pen. ACT will send an email to the testing field once all data is complete. Now let's take a look at the Student Data Review and Rosters, SDRR. Please see the SDRR February DAC training for more complete details on SDRR. Accountability rosters are managed in the Student Data Review and Rosters application, SDRR. The rosters for ACT are open after the initial test day in SDRR. During that time, the rosters will be initially blank, without any student pre-populated. It will be necessary or possible to add students for whom OAA approval for non-participation is being requested. Documentation is required. It is not necessary to add students to the roster in SDR if they are participating in the assessment. During the initial ACT roster period, school and district staff can indicate whether or not students use accommodations on their ACT exam and to request non-participation. All eligible students are expected to participate in the state-required assessment unless the student experiences an acute medical issue. Non-participation requests should be made in SDR when the student was actively enrolled but did not complete the assessment for one of the following reasons. Examples for non-participation include absent on test day and makeup date, participates in the alternate assessment, first year EL, medical, expelled without services, a perfect score of 36, and or withdrawn after the testing window began. If students are enrolled in the testing grade and are not approved for non-participation, they should be tested. Please do not request a non-participation if the student withdrew weeks or months prior to the assessment or are actively enrolled in another school or district. If you have students who have been virtual and refuses to come into school, schools need to make certain that students are coded correctly in IC for virtual or non-traditional instruction, or they will be expected to test. For more information, please see the SDRR training. Now let's take a look at some ACT resources. Here are the resources with links that were discussed today: the MyACT, the Success Site, ACT PAN, TestNav support, and the Kentucky ACT site. The Office of Assessment and Accountability and ACT are partnering to offer DACs and testing staff with open office hours. DACs, BACs, and TCs will be able to ask questions and receive assistance during this time. Here is a list with links of the future meetings. This concludes the Spring 2021 high school testing portion of the February DAC trainings. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at 502-564-4394 or at dacinfo@education.ky.gov. Thank you